So in this presentation, we'll be covering a few points, starting from understanding the problems that are holding your website to be live or be completed, then correct ratio to allocate funds on the development of your website or your web project, then talking about what is a MVP and why it's required and how it can help you in your project, and then some of the prep work you should do before hiring an agency or a developer to help you with the project. And finally, a few things to avoid when the work is in progress. And just a little bit of introduction. My name is Baljinder Singh, Mike, and I'm a WordPress engineer, backend and front end both. And I call myself as self-proclaimed web-based MVP specialist and consultant. And I own a WP Spin. It's a Katy-based agency. And let's jump right into the first topic, problems that are holding up your website. So first is unclear scope or the requirements. And this is like a primary reason of why your website is not getting completed. What happens is sometimes if you want to have like a website idea, we think about creating a goal which is not an actionable goal. It is more about the result-oriented goal. What you're supposed to be doing is creating some actionable goals, and that's where the scoping and the requirements come in. You should have like a list of all the detailed requirements you want. What goes into your navigation bar, what goes into your first page, what goes into your second page, how many pages you want. So you should be clear with all the requirements. Another problem is lack of homework. So there's no planning or organization of the idea. Maybe you think about this one program, this one website idea, but you're not sure if you have competitors. You're not sure about the keywords to target, the domains and stuff like that. Next one is underestimating the complexity. Think about like a solution and talk to a developer or an expert. If you think like it's simple enough, just have a clear communication. Like you think it's simple, you think about these few plugins can make your life easier and get it done. So be communicative with the developer and also with yourself. If the solution or the idea you have, is it simple or complex to make? Then mismanagement of funds. This is usually happens when you overspend in development. You do not cap the money to be put on the development. And what you end up with a perfect product, but no funds to do the content branding, no funds to do the marketing, which is actually putting up life into your project. Next one is unable to understand the job roles. A lot of us, we think about like if we hire a WordPress developer, he's gonna do the project management, he's gonna do the designing, he's gonna do the graphics, he's gonna do the hosting, a lot of things. We should be clear about like if it's a developer, he should only take care of the development. All other parts, you can either hire someone or you can DIY, be in charge of the project management part of the world, right? And finally, running away from the ownership. So when you outsource or when you hire someone to do your projects, it's better or it's a good idea to take the ownership instead of relying on someone else. Even the best agencies, best developers, you cannot just, have them to take ownership of testing and stuff like that and research. You should be taking that kind of ownership. Now, the major part, what is the correct ratio to allocate funds? So for example, you have a budget for your website idea, website project, how you can allocate funds. And this is based on the successful projects that we have done since past 10 years. And what I have spoken with the other business owners, they say they want to put up to 40% into content and branding first before they start the development. And what it covers is it covers the copywriting, it covers the keyword research, it covers the SEO. These are the things which are much important than the development aspect. The thing is, if you are thinking or about a perfect solution about a problem, first you need to go through the SEO specialist and see like what they think about the keywords should be, what they think about the domain should be. Let me give you an example. So let's say I own or I have a WordPress development agency, right? And if I create a domain, which I have right now, let's say wpspins.com, I am using the domain of my brand name. I'm not using a perfect domain that can be relevant to what I provide, what value I provide, what services I provide. So better to go through all the keyword research, SEO, and the branding and copywriting stuff before you hand over to the development.
So if you were to do it again, what would you pick?
If you do it like a revamping of a website?
If you were to do it again with your site, what name would you pick?
So the thing is, I already have two domain names. One was HoustonWordPressDeveloper.com. That was my first. Yeah. And like at this moment?
Yeah, just knowing what you know now.
Okay, so if I have to do, and if the domain is available, I will write like WordPressThemeDeveloper.com, WordPressPluginDeveloper.com. If I want to target like an area like Houston, I'll say WordPressDeveloperHouston.com, something like that. So it's just about the domain, but there are other aspects of your website, like title, like the name, even the logo, the branding, the copywriting stuff that comes into the whole situation. Was I able to answer your question?
Oh yeah, no, because from a client's point of view, like I'm wrestling right now with an author site, and she's insisting having LLC included as part of her thing, and I'm just gently trying to say, really, that doesn't add anything. And
Yep.
if you want to brag about sign up for your own LLC, that you just joined 50 million people.
Right.
But, so far, I'm kind of winning the argument in that I already told her it's already locked in and you can't do it anymore.
Yep, perfect, perfect. Yeah, that was a great example. Thank you so much for bringing that up.
Some people do LLC with the state.
Yeah, I mean, it's better to reserve the domain with your brand name, because if you are popular enough and the domain is taken, I mean, you don't have any other option.
Yeah, but your point, say what you do.
Yeah. Yep.
Name of the company, limited the company behind the company
Yes.
name, not on the web. I don't think that should be the name of the airline.
Yeah, that's what we've been trying to convince.
Yep. All right, that was a great question. Moving forward, so after the content and branding, the second major part you want to allocate your funds is actually the design and development. Try to minimize it a lot and make the design and the actual website that makes more sense, instead of something that looks good to the eyes and doesn't do anything. We'll cover that part like in detail when I explain like what's the MVP and how we can cover that. And the last but not the least is 10 to 15% on maintenance, hosting domains, and anything miscellaneous. Please note, I'm not allocating any funds for the marketing, because that should be a separate budget. That shouldn't be like a part of your main budget. That should be a separate budget. Moving on to the next one. What is MVP and how it can help you succeed? So I have a question for everyone. So I have these two cakes, right? And on the left side, you see like two kind of parts, right? There's a bread and there's icing, just two ingredients or whatever. On the right side, I have a birthday cake where you see the bread, you see the icing, you also see the Oreos, you also see a M&M, and there's a candy stick, sugar stick coming out. So like 6 or 7 things. If you have to pick one, which one? So how many you would do the left one, the cupcake? So everyone, right? So what I'm trying to say is build one thing that works, that makes sense, and that looks good, instead of doing like a whole bunch of 7 or 8 things And yeah, even I won't like to go with the second one, even though I put in. Yep, that's where our MVP comes in. What it says it's a minimal viable product. And what does it mean? For example, you have a great idea of a project. You have a blogging site, you want to sell like membership, you want to gate some content and stuff like that, right? So the MVP of that WordPress idea or website idea would be to create a simple blog site, right? And create some membership using existing plugins. Possibly it could be free or paid or pro version. They're not that expensive. Use those pre-built plugins and create some sort of like membership and gating stuff. Just restrict the content like that, right? And that we call as MVP. And the only purpose is to get the customer feedback. MVP is known to get the customer feedback, not to make you money. So it's not for the customers, it's only for the lab rats. And the important part is it prevents the costly mistake. So let's take an example. You have this amazing, crazy idea, which you think it'll take millions. It'll be like a kick-ass website that you'll make, and you'll make millions, billions, or whatever. And you have, let's say you have a budget of 10 grands or 20 grands, right? You put all the 20 grands into that one idea, and it's still not finished. Still, you stretch it, and it takes time, three or 4 months. It's finished, right? It's completed. You put it out in the market, and then what happens is when it goes into the customers, it goes in front of the customers. They're like, I don't like this product. I don't want it, right? So the customer feedback is pretty much important when you want to spend all of your budget, all of your money into that one idea. Create an MVP, which is like the lowest scope of your basic idea, and let's see how it goes with the customers. And that's how it prevents the costly mistakes to be done. And once released, it can be improved. It's not like you get a car, you cannot upgrade it, stuff like that. It's scalable. And WordPress sites, those are amazing. Like you can add SEO, you can add memberships, you can add e-commerce, marketplace, whatever you think of, right? And a few things to notice, there are available tools that in the WordPress, we have tens of thousands of plugins on the WordPress. Check for what available tools you have and whatever you can use without the customization or without any external help. Then try to process features manually instead of building an automated solution. Let me give you an example. So for example, I was talking about a blog site that would have like gated content, they would sell the memberships and stuff like that. So in perfect world, how it would work is a customer goes on your site, he clicks on the buy membership button, his account gets created, and he's able to see all the instructions, he's able to see the gated content itself, right? That I would call an automated solution, right? And there are plugins, you just have to stitch it together with the help of a developer. But what you can do for the MVP is you can do all these processes manually. Just create a contact form, or just a form with a Gravity or Ninja or contact form 7 stating like what you'll get with this membership. When someone submits, you get the response in the back end. Then you can reach them out on an email. You can get their payments, and you can create their accounts and stuff like that. And you can send like a manual email. And it doesn't bother customers if you say like, thanks for your submissions, we'll reach out to you in 24 hours or 48 hours. It doesn't hurt the customer at all. And another one is DIY, doing the DIY of setting up the features. I'm not saying about coding yourself because that'll be a lot messy, but installing the plugins, looking at their instruction document and see how it can help you. And there's one site I want to show you. It's called, it's called tastewp.com. So what it does, you don't need to install a new WordPress site, on your own. You just click this button after agreeing to the terms. Obviously, read the terms for sure. Click on set it up. What it does is it creates you a blank WordPress installation for just 1 day so that you can install the plugins you want, install the theme you want, and give it a test drive, right? Instead of installing on your own theme or setting up a new WordPress site. Back onto okay. All right. Another one is if you are really having someone to fix your website or someone to, work on some of the missing parts of your website, even after you DIY, make sure you test those features yourself because you want to hire the developers based on the performance, based on like if whatever you gave him, were you able to accomplish, right? And last but not the least, make sure your MVP is made for lab rats. It's not for the customers. And if you're expecting money out of or sales or profit out of an MVP, that's not a good idea. So going on to the next one, there's some prep work you should be doing before hiring someone. First is identifying the goals and objectives. So if you want to have like a website idea, the goal should be install this theme. I like this theme. Install the WordPress. I need to have these features. These features can be are available, already available on these plugins. Those are the goals and objectives. The imperfect goal, which is incorrect, should be like I have this website, and once I have it, I'll get like 100 of 2,000 of signups and stuff like that. That's not a goal. The goal is like what exactly you want to do for your website. And design a comprehensive project plan and set a budget, set a deadline for all these items, and act as a project management on that project. Or you just hire someone to get a project manager. Please note, for a successful business idea, especially on the websites, there should be a project manager. I mean, you should not go directly to the developer and have him act as the project manager. And make a list of all the designs, references, all the competitors that are doing maybe the same or the similar kind of concept of what you're trying. Install and demo all these themes and plugins you want to do. It's really important. And you can use the same Taste WP if you like. And the last is preparing all the content and images to use. So most of us, and this is from my experience, there are a couple of not really successful businesses or website owners. What they do is they give you the design, they ask you to develop, they ask us to develop their websites, and they make us to use like the sample content, like Lorem Ipsum or whatever. And what happens is, as a developer, we build the website, a web page based on that sample content. It could be 10 words, it could be 20 lines, whatever. But then if you're introducing the content after the development, after the completion, let's say you make 20 or 30 lines, 40 lines, which doesn't fit well, maybe on the desktop, but maybe it doesn't fit well on the mobile. That's where the issue comes in, and you'll go through the QA and feedback process, and there's a lot of back and forth. So it's best to have the content, the designs, the artwork provided first, unless you want to have like a choppy situation. Yeah, this is one of the crazy line art that I created. So I had a Jasper art kind of subscription. I got that, and I tried to put down like my thought into it and was expecting something, but it didn't work well. So finally I found an image from Google Images, as I was doing since last couple of years, and this is what I got. And what it helps is, it helps you select a developer for your project. And the top one is like the most experienced person you want to have. And also it has like less small number of people. So if you want to put out your project for someone to work on, look for someone who's already experienced in your plugin stack. In all the plugins that you think you want to work in, have a developer, someone who's experienced in that. If not, there could be like 100,000 of plugin. No one is able to be experienced in all of them. If that doesn't work, or you don't find that person, find a person who has a plugin development feature of development skills or theme development skills. He can help you out. If even not, you can take a little bit more risk and you can find a WordPress super admin who can at least install the stuff, who can at least read the instructions, read the recipe, and follow it. And the last is, that's the most riskiest one, find a PHP developer. But yeah, that's the last resort if you want to find someone to work on your projects. All right, I think this one is the last topic, things to avoid while work in progress. Changing the requirements. If you have someone to work on your project and it's also already working on it, avoid changing the requirements, because that might introduce a lot more complications, a lot of back and forth, a lot of scope creep. So that's the major thing to avoid. And quit overly nagging for the updates. Yeah, because how developers work is, like, you give them your site, they might create a second copy of your site on their local host, and you keep on refreshing your website, and you're going crazy, like, things are not happening. I think I hired a wrong person, right? So yeah, and once the developer is ready to show you, he'll definitely put out on your website, and everything would be nice. And working on the same environment. For example, your developer is working on your live site, and you're at the same time you're trying new themes and plugins on the same site. That's not a good idea. So please avoid that. And most important, do not change access. So what happens is, when you go on the WordPress, and even if you work on, let's say, 2 different tabs, right? In one tab, you're working on your website, you're making a content, you're making some changes. And let's say on the second tab, you can experiment that. You change the password. You know what happens to the tab one? It's going to say like you have been logged out. So if your developer is spending like 3 or 4 hours on making that one perfect page for you, and you change the password, what is going to happen? It's going to log him out. No saves, nothing like that. We do have revisions, but it's better to avoid that kind of situation. And finally, not trusting the expert. Like, think like twice or thrice before hiring someone, and after you hired, just trust on their skills and stuff like that. Yep, I think that's pretty much it. And thank you so much for attending. And PDF I'll drop in my blog, or Christina can share in the meetup group. If you have any comments, compliments, please share. And if you have any like out of the scope or out of the presentation questions, you can drop me an email.